In the heart of America's poultry belt lies a state defined by quiet farms, rolling fields, and generations of families who rise with the sun to tend their flocks. Arkansas is a place where chickens outnumber people, and the rhythm of rural life is measured in eggs, gathered in feed, scattered. But in the winter of 2024, that rhythm was shattered. A deadly virus, long feared by farmers and scientists alike, returned with silent force. It began with a single backyard flock, then another and another. Within weeks, it had swept across counties, infiltrated commercial operations, and triggered one of the most devastating agricultural outbreaks in Arkansas history. This is the story of how a microscopic threat silenced the coops of Arkansas. A story of science, survival, and the fragile balance between nature and the systems we rely on. Welcome to the silent plague bird deaths in Arkansas. It began in the stillness of early winter. On December 9, 2024, in Lafayette County, a quiet rural community where backyard chickens are part of daily life, a local family noticed something was wrong. Their hens, once lively and alert, had grown lethargic. Within days, the entire flock was gone. Tests confirmed the worst, H5N1, a highly pathogenic strain of avian influenza. It was Arkansas's first confirmed case in over a year, but it wouldn't be the last. In the weeks that followed, the virus spread quietly. 5 more backyard flocks tested positive in Craighead, Jackson, Pope, and Sharp counties. Even a peregrine falcon found near Lanoke County was infected. The virus had moved beyond domestic birds and was now circulating in the wild. Experts believe wild migratory birds, especially ducks and geese, were the likely carriers. These birds travel thousands of miles, shedding the virus in their droppings and contaminating water sources along the way. The outbreak had begun quietly, almost invisibly, but its impact was already growing. What started in backyard flocks soon escalated into a statewide emergency. On December 30, 2024, the virus reached a commercial broiler operation in Clay County in northeastern Arkansas. The facility housed more than 227,000 birds. Within days, the entire flock was lost. This was a turning point. The virus had jumped from small-scale family flocks to industrial poultry production. The scale of the loss was staggering. More birds were affected in this single outbreak than in all previous cases combined. By early 2025, Arkansas had lost over 227,000 birds, both to the virus and to culling efforts aimed at halting its spread. The outbreak had evolved from isolated incidents into a full-blown agricultural crisis. The Arkansas Department of Agriculture, along with federal agencies, launched emergency containment efforts, but the virus was already ahead of them. It had reached the heart of one of the state's most vital industries. While the outbreak in Clay County made headlines, the virus had been spreading quietly through smaller, less visible channels. Backyard flocks, kept for eggs, meat, or companionship, were among the first to be hit. Scattered across rural and suburban areas, these flocks lacked the biosecurity of commercial farms. Open pens, shared water sources, and proximity to wildlife made them especially vulnerable. But the true drivers of the outbreak weren't confined to coops. Wild migratory birds, particularly ducks and geese, were the silent carriers. Traveling thousands of miles each year, they shed the virus in their droppings, contaminating ponds, fields, and even backyard water bowls. The virus is resilient. It can survive for weeks in cold, moist environments. Once introduced, it spreads easily through contaminated feed, clothing, tools, and even insects. A single infected bird can trigger a chain reaction that devastates an entire region. By the time the virus reached commercial operations, it had already passed through dozens of backyards and wetlands. This wasn't just a failure of containment, it was a stark reminder of how deeply our farms are connected to the natural world. As the virus spread, agricultural authorities responded quickly, though not without challenges. The Arkansas Department of Agriculture, working with the USDA and local extension services, launched an emergency containment effort. Their mission was clear: stop the virus before it could cripple the state's poultry industry. The University of Arkansas Division of Agriculture issued urgent biosecurity guidelines. Poultry owners were instructed to keep birds in enclosed pens, away from wild animals. Any new birds brought onto a property had to be quarantined for at least 30 days. Equipment, boots, and even vehicle tires required regular disinfection. Visitors were discouraged from entering poultry areas, and pets were kept away from co-ops. Educational webinars and community outreach programs were introduced across the state. Farmers, hobbyists, and school agriculture programs were taught how to recognize symptoms, report cases, and protect their flocks. Despite these efforts, the virus continued to spread. it became clear just how difficult it is to contain a disease that moves invisibly through air, water, and wildlife. What was unfolding in Arkansas was part of a much larger crisis. Across the United States, the H5N1 virus was causing widespread disruption. By the spring of 2025, more than 169 million birds had been affected nationwide. The virus had reached 51 jurisdictions, including major poultry-producing states such as Iowa, Minnesota, and North Carolina. This outbreak, however, was unlike any before. For the first time, the virus had jumped to dairy cows. In at least 17 states, herds tested positive for avian influenza. Scientists were stunned. A virus once believed to be limited to birds was now infecting mammals. Then came the human cases. Farm workers in close contact with infected animals began testing positive. Most experienced only mild symptoms, but one case in Louisiana proved fatal. The CDC responded by increasing surveillance, issuing protective guidelines for farm workers, and preparing for the possibility of wider transmission. While there was no evidence of sustained human-to-human spread, the potential for mutation remained a serious concern. For the people of Arkansas, the outbreak was more than a headline. It was deeply personal. Families who had raised chickens for generations were forced to cull entire flocks. Small farms lost their primary source of income. Children who had named their hens and collected eggs each morning watched their coops fall silent. The economic toll was significant. Egg prices soared. Poultry exports were disrupted. The state's agricultural economy, already strained by previous outbreaks and market fluctuations, suffered another major blow. Yet the emotional toll was even greater. In rural communities, where farming is more than a livelihood and closer to a way of life, the loss of a flock felt like the loss of a family member. The silence that followed was more than the absence of birdsong. It echoed with uncertainty, disrupted livelihoods, and a future that felt increasingly fragile. Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of the most significant agricultural crises in recent memory. The 2025 bird flu outbreak in Arkansas serves as a powerful reminder of how interconnected our ecosystems, food systems, and health systems truly are. If you found this episode insightful, please like, subscribe, and share. And remember, what happens in the fields of Arkansas could one day affect us all. Stay safe and stay curious.